Hello fellow hams and YouTubers. Well, on the bench today I have an interesting little box. This is a 2 meter 90 watt linear amplifier. It is from VJ Products out of Texas, and looking at the graphics, the lettering, the way it's done, and the construction of the box, I'm guessing this thing was probably made somewhere in the late 70s, early 80s. Just kind of has that feel for me. It is a 90 watt amp. I have the manual. We'll look at that in a moment. They say 5 watts in gives you 40 watts out, 10 watts in gives you 90 watts out. It's got a switch over here for FM mode or single sideband. Transmit indicator light, power indicator light, single sideband indicator light probably just lights up when you flip the switch so you know you're in single sideband mode, and a power switch on this side. On the back, we've got our antenna out, transmitter in, kind of messed up power cord arrangement here. I'll have to look at this. And a little sticker with a typewritten serial number 24,042. I doubt they actually made 24,000 of these things, but you never know, maybe. Above that it says J-O-BB. Maybe that has to do with the initials of the people that assembled it and tested it, I'm guessing. Looks like it's had lots of use. Like I said, this power cord's kind of weird. There's like a copper ring inside of here that the plus is coming through with a sharp edge that hasn't cut through the insulation yet, but I think it could, and that wire feels like there's no strain relief in there. I can just move it in and out. And the ground is on an eyelet that's on this screw. We're going to clean that up for sure. It looks like it's definitely had use. On the side here, there's a hole drilled in the side fin, I would guess for mounting. On the other side, there's 2 more holes drilled here in this side fin. So like I said, I would guess that that was what they mounted it with at one point. The whole top half of the thing is a heat sink. So the final, or the amp, is probably going to be mounted to the top. The bottom of it has some more holes drilled in it. 2 here that are kind of offset weirdly. And then the bottom here has a couple of holes. So I guess they probably put feet on there so it would sit up on a desk, you know, at an angle. You could use it mobile, I suppose. So let's open this thing up and have a look inside. Now there's 4 screws here, and there's 4 screws here. So I don't think these panels are meant to come off because the connectors are riveted on to that. We got the switches mounted on here. If I had to guess, I would guess that what I'm going to find is that the PC board is mounted to the heatsink. So I'm thinking that the bottom has to come off, and indeed there's a split along the side here, like this whole bottom panel comes off. So I'm going to take out these bottom 2 screws on the back and on the front, and we'll see if that bottom panel indeed does come off. So let me reposition the camera, and we'll open this puppy up and see what's going on inside. All right. Yep, just like I thought. It opens from the bottom. Somebody scratched chassis front in here. And there's like electrical tape marked out as arrows pointing in that direction. Perhaps that's just a clue for whoever assembles it. And as I thought, holy cow, what is going on there? Anyway, as I thought, it's a single PC board mounted against the heatsink. Big transmit receive relay here. A 35 ohm, 10% power resistor, bringing power down to the RF transistor to limit current, I guess. And some associated support circuitry. We've got, there's a diode for reverse protection on the power input lead. That's good. If the power was hooked up backwards, that diode will pop. I'm going to test that before I apply power to it. We've got a transistor over here that is probably the transmit-receive relay. It's going to sense RF and switch it over when you key down. Big capacitors here. And yeah, this is definitely going to be late 70s, early 80s construction, this PC board and the way this is laid out. But what's interesting to me, or baffling to me, is this. What's going on here? This looks like a cap, a copper pipe cap, like you would put on water pipe, that they've screwed onto the back, and the power lead comes through it. What is that for? I don't understand, unless somebody wanted a smaller hole at the back for the power wires to come through, so they that's just weird. Like, they just screwed this piece of copper pipe cap in here and drilled a small hole in it. Well, I am definitely going to clean up the power wire situation here. I'm going to get that piece of copper out of there, put a grommet in and a strain relief, and do a proper power cord for the thing. We'll get the meter out. We'll check this diode and check a few other things and make sure everything's okay. We're not shorted. So what we've got is we've got a single stage amplifier. One RF transistor here, definitely mounted against the heat sink for the heat dissipation. This is supposed to also have a preamp for receive with an FET, and I am not seeing that. And in fact, the schematic has an output and input filter network with a lot of inductors, and I'm not seeing that either. So I think the schematic lies. I don't see the RF preamp. And it might be in here and I'm just not seeing it, but no, I only see the one transistor over here that's probably the transmit-receive switching for the relay. I don't see the inductors that would be needed and are shown in the schematic, and I don't see another there's supposed to be an FET preamp stage, and I don't see that. Well, okay, let's clean up this power arrangement, and we'll try her out. While I'm working on the power cord, I'm going to take you over to a little bit of video. I'm going to look at the schematic and the manual that came with it, or that was for it, and we'll try to figure out who VJ Products are and if they're still in business or not. So I'm going to get to work on this, and you go watch that. I looked all over online for any information on VJ Products, and fortunately I did find where somebody had uploaded a PDF of the manual for this guy, but it's the only information I could find aside from a couple of forum posts where people were asking about it. The company is long out of business. VJ Products Incorporated, 2-meter linear amplifier. VJ Power Up. I suspect they probably made all kinds of linear amps, probably starting in the CB world if I had to guess, because CB was quite big in the 70s. And this would have been later 70s, early 80s. The model V-90L. It's a Class A, B, I for FM or AM use. This says AM, FM, and single sideband. The unit that I have, which is still marked as the V-90L, just says FM and sideband. So yeah, I think they were probably changing things up as they went. So here's our specs. Minimum RF input 1 watt, maximum 15, and maximum current draw 12 amps. RF output here shows typical at 10 watts input would be 90 watts out. 4 watts input would be 40 watts out. So yeah, okay, cool. That's nice. VJ Products, 505 East Shaw Street, Pasadena, Texas. And a phone number. Now, I left this number here because I've called it and it's disconnected. So, yeah, they're out of business. Serving the electronics industry since 1965. All right, so they've been around a while. Maybe this was 1970s that this amp was out. I got curious, 505 Shaw Street, Pasadena, Texas. So of course, I went to Google Maps, and there's the building. There's a kind of rusted roof there. This is a recent photo, and if we go and we look at the building here, it looks like it's an office building. It looks like there's an entrance there and a drive-in garage. And yeah, right now it is Pasadena Rebuilders, and they do industrial, commercial, agricultural fleet rebuilding, starters and alternators and all that. I haven't called that number. I've been actually thinking about calling the number and seeing if the current owner of the building has any record of the previous VJ Products company or not, but probably not. So let's go back to the manual. It's a pretty standard type of manual here. You know, it's got your instructions for connecting it and operating it, and some product specs here. Frequency 144 to 148. Received gain 20 plus dB. Now remember, I didn't see a preamp in there. I looked for it. Yeah, let's look at the schematic. So here is the schematic for the amplifier section. Now, one thing that sticks out to me right away is you look here and you see these filter networks, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 coils here, 4 coils there, another one here. Here's one on the power input to the transistor. It's an NPN transistor, single stage amplifier. Looking in the unit, I did not see these inductors at all. This choke is there, but these inductors are not there. We do have capacitors all around the transistor, not this many by my count. So I think they simplified the design quite a bit. This might be a later unit where they had simplified it. This one might be the one that had the original design might have had the AM capability, and perhaps the extra filtering was for AM and they decided they didn't need it for FM. Who knows? I'm just speculating. But what's down on my bench is a lot simpler than this. We don't have all these extra inductors, and we don't have this many capacitors, so I think it's a simplified design. So that's the amplifier stage there. We've got a relay here that switches into bypass the amplifier and switches it in when we transmit. Power is always applied. The power is not switched. So the transistor is hot all the time and it just relies on RF coming in. This would be the RF sense that's firing off the relay, K1. There's the coil for the relay, and the transmit LED as well. And these are, oh, that's our, wow, what is that, power switch? I don't know. Don't know what that is. Again, this might be something to do with the original design. Yeah, that's the power switch. There's a power LED here. So, and a choke on that side, which I also didn't see on the unit. So, a greatly simplified unit. But this is just a transistor switch. We've got a little couple of diodes here that are rectifying the incoming RF to DC. We've got an electrolytic capacitor here. So these create a bias voltage on the transistor, which turns it on, which fires off the relay, and that's that. Once the relay is fired, it switches in the RF through the amplifier, and you're off to the races, amplified. So yeah, pretty simple single stage amplifier. Down here we see a schematic for what's supposed to be the preamp, in and out, and a second stage of the relay here that would switch it to bypass when we're transmitting. We've got a little NPN transistor preamplifier, and then this is a MOSFET, dual gate MOSFET, that's doing the preamplification with a tuned circuit, variable capacitors here and some inductors, tapped inductor. None of this is on the board. It's not in this unit, so we definitely have a simplified unit without the preamp. So that's the schematic for it. It's a pretty simple amplifier, pretty simple manual, not a lot to it. Let's go back down to the bench and see if my doppelganger has finished soldering up the new power lead, and then we'll see if it works. All right, well, I have finished replacing the power cord on this guy. And it's now properly strain relieved over here, you can see. And I've got an inline fuse holder, 20 amp fuse in there. The manual says that this will draw 12 amps, so probably a 15 amp would be ideal, but I only had a 20 amp available. Hopefully I just didn't sacrifice a 20 amp flash bulb, but we'll find out. Haven't tried it yet. We're going to power it up. I've checked it with an ohm meter, and everything is hunky-dory. I've got the dummy load and a little VHF SWR meter in here. It's on the 30 watt scale, so full deflection up to here would be 30 watts out. I'm driving it with my little Radio Shack HTX 202 brick, which is presently on a 1/2 watt output power. Haven't, well, I might try it on 5. We'll see what's going to happen. I don't know if this is going to work or not. It might very well pop the fuse. We'll see. So we'll power it up. Okay, I heard the relay click once. No smoke. We got a power light. I don't know if that's showing up on camera. I'm going to key the mic on the little Radio Shack and let's see what happens. Oh yeah. 1/2 watt in, I'm getting about 20 watts out. It's working. How about that? All right, let's drive it with 5 watts. Now we should get 40 watts out, which is going to push the meter up past the 30 watt scale, or 30 watt range. Let's see. Oh yeah. Slightly pegged the meter. Let me switch her over to the 300 watt range. And I'm seeing 35 watts. 5 watts in, I'm getting 35 watts out. That's dandy. How about that? The old amp works. Very cool. Very cool indeed. It does not have the preamp as shown in the schematic. I have really looked over this board with a fine-tooth comb, and I do not see the preamp. I also do not see the filtering. As you'll recall from the schematic, there was quite a range of inductors. We've got these capacitors here on the board, and one inductor on the power feed to choke off RF from coming back out the power. But I don't see a bandpass filter in here, so they must have cheapened the design before they shipped it. But hey, it's a working amplifier, so I'm pretty happy with that. And all I had to do was just clean up this power cord. I don't know why somebody didn't just do it right. You can see I've got it coming in. I've got it strain relieved right here. You know, it comes over, it connects. So, and I got a rubber grommet in here. So now we got a nice clean power cord and an inline fuse, which it was not fused before. Again, I don't know why. They had this crazy... That's actually a piece of a copper cap off of a copper plumbing pipe on the back with a hole drilled in it. So yeah, get rid of that. So I'm going to button this guy back up, and it's going to be ready to go on eBay and hopefully pay for one of my utility bills this month. So that's the VJ 90L 2 meter PA. Nifty little box. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Also, if you're not already a subscriber, click to subscribe. Join us on the Facebook channel for discussion about the videos. And if you'd like to help support this channel, please click to support me on my Patreon page.